समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Why has the Congress party lost most assembly elections since Lok Sabha 2024? Was vote chori, the idea so close to Rahul Gandhi's heart and political rhetoric, a major election flop? What is Modi Shah's winning election formula? If 2024 Lok Sabha suggested that the power of Prime Minister Modi had been contained, a string of victories in the assembly elections that have followed suggests otherwise. And was Prashant Kishore more hype than real? Or is he still a political brand to look out for? These are many of the questions that are facing the country, political pundits, journalists, and people at large after the big Bihar election. A stupendous victory for the BJP and Nitish Kumar, a debacle for the RJD and the Congress. In particular, for the Congress party, as the country's national opposition party, the question is, what ails the Congress? We'll try and get to the bottom of that question, also using post-poll data put out by C-Voter and Yashwant Deshmukh. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo Story. On the program today, the Bihar victory for the NDA and Nitish Kumar throws up a series of questions for Indian politics at large. Is the India alliance all but over? What is the winning formula of Narendra Modi and his allies? Why is it that if unemployment was such a major issue in Bihar, neither the BJP nor the incumbent chief minister were electorally punished for it? What about SIR and vote chori? These were Rahul Gandhi's pet issues. Did they turn out to be a big election flop? Why has the Congress, which seemed to be doing better relatively in the Lok Sabha elections of 2024, not been able to convert that advantage into any significant election victories since then? And what about new entrants like Prashant Kishore? How do we look at their political brand? We now have some post-election data to try and help us make sense of the political messages that Bihar is throwing up for national politics. This, even as the Congress is in churn in many ways. There's the question mark over Shashi Tharoor. Will the Congress throw him out? Will he leave? There are others in the Congress, like Ahmed Patel's daughter, who have started speaking up about the arrogance in the party and the propensity to find a way to make excuses for itself and blame others. Let's introduce our guest today as we look at some of these very intriguing questions, and we also look at hard data. Tavleen Singh, author and veteran journalist, is with us. Welcome, Tavleen. Dileep Cherian, brand guru, political analyst, is with us. Welcome, Dileep. And also joining us is Yashwant Deshmukh, who, of course, leads C-Voter and has provided us with this very, very interesting post-poll data. Yashwant, let me start with you. You know, when we look at the data that has come from C-Voter, this is post-election analysis, a few key points emerge, and I'll let you go through them with a few introductory comments. Women led the NDA to victory. That much is clear. More Muslim women voted for the NDA than Muslim men, pointing out that the 10,000 scheme, the 10,000 rupee scheme, did have a major impact. We saw the only one group, you point out, in which the Mahagathbandhan outperforms the NDA, and it's young men between the ages of 18 to 24. Most people you survey do identify unemployment to be a major issue, but they don't punish either Nitish Kumar or the BJP for it significantly. Or if they do, it's in that very age group of very young men, 18 to 24. And Prashant Kishore's ratings plummet. I've just done a macro introduction to some of your findings. I'm going to ask you to give us an overview. I should also add that in the issues that you looked at and C-Voter looked at that were important to voters that defined their decision Vote Chori was at the bottom of the list, hardly getting any traction. Yashwant, it's over to you.
Thank you, Barkha. And right in the start, I would like to just explain slightly to the audience, to the viewers, because Barkha, in the last 1 year, we have done the tracking thing, and on and off, we have always tried to explain what's going on in Bihar. So, how exactly is this post poll different? We did not do the exit poll; we did the post poll. There are post polls which are done for academic purpose, but this is a slightly different exercise because not just about the fresh voters that we asked these questions, but Barkha, in the last 1 year, we almost, during the tracking Bihar election, we talked to almost 1 lakh Bihari voters, and almost 10% of them, we actually talked back to them. What did they actually do? In the last 1 year, they did tell us this is what they are feeling, this is what they are going to do. But for the first time, this is a post-poll exercise in India where we have tracked down the same voters whom we had interviewed in the last 1 year and asked them what did they actually do. Say, for example, if I interviewed Dilip, and Dilip, 6 months back you talked to us and you said this was the issue, you are going to vote this. So what did you actually do? And Dilip would say that, okay, I said this and I did that. So what I asked, what was it that you stick to your decision? What were the things? And if Dilip changed the decision, then what was the reason that you changed the decision? So this is very different. It's not only the timeline, but it's actually the first ever longitudinal survey in that way, Barkha. So it gives us the data and precision to understand and basically dissect the mandate, to understand the mandate, why it has happened. And as you correctly pointed out in your opening remarks, the three things which were very clear. And I will start with something, not for something for the winners, but actually for those who lost the election. And I have written this, that it would be fool to call, say that Mahagathbandhan is over, Tejashwi Yadav is done and dusted. To say that this game is over for Tejashwi is wrong, because that boy managed to get almost like 40% vote, in Bihar. And anybody who is having a 40% support base approximately in a state can never be said that, game is over. So first thing first, the game is not over for Tejashwi. The person's main issue that he was trying to build on, that is the unemployment, sarkari naukri, maybe that's the way he tried to propagate it. But that issue resonated not just among men, but even among the women of Bihar. That is very critical, because on certain questions, men and women were just talking like the same thing. But on the voting intent and other things, they were like poles apart in many ways. But on issue of unemployment, both men and women said that this is the number one crisis of Bihar, because women who are even voting for Tejashwi, for Nitish Kumar and BJP, they also said their husband, their fathers, their kids, they are going out of state for employment, and that is something which they want to change.
Can I ask you a follow-up question, because there will be many different aspects we look at, and I want to bring in Dilip and Tavleen as well, as we look at the different aspects. But if you say that don't write the political obituary of Tejashwi Yadav yet, and the issue he picked, which was jobs, did matter to people, why do you think that the Mahagathbandhan was not able to convert that sentiment into votes? Why was the discontent or the concerns about unemployment not something that the BJP and the JDU was penalized for? And three, when you point out that the only group in which the opposition outperformed the NDA were young men between the ages of 18 to 24, actually the job-seeking population, but the same was not true for women. And you also say these young men were willing to forgive the shadow and the memories of Jungle Raj, but the women weren't. So what happened? I mean, if unemployment is the biggest issue, then how did the Mahagathbandhan do so badly when it was their pet issue?
So I think what went wrong here in big number of our friends and colleagues who were traveling around in Bihar, and their assessment of very close race and went wrong. And when we were discussing, I was maintaining to you that there is a double-digit gap as far as the female and male intents are concerned, and this we were getting all along in the tracker as well. And what has happened is that institutional memory was passed down to the new girls, new young women from their mothers. But I think that wasn't true about the young men. Now, there is a dark cloud for MGB to read into that, and there is a silver lining for others to read into that as well. So, first thing first, the headline is that females actually turned this election upside down. I know Tavlin has said that this is about the Labharti Yojana, and yes, I mean, that's a different argument and different discussion that we can always have.
But do you believe that? Do you believe it was a single scheme election?
I think in the cases of Maharashtra, yes, I agree with that, Tavlinji. In the cases of, say, for example, in Hemant Soren's case, or even in the case of Shivraj Singh Chauhan, I would agree. But in case of Nitish Kumar, I am slightly, I have a different point of view. I feel that his connect with the female voters in Bihar was of a generational policy matter, where some girl who got a cycle to go to school 20-25 years back is now a mother and getting 10,000 rupees, and that's a kind of refreshing that memory that Nitish Kumar has worked for that lot.
Okay, Yashwant, hold that thought. Just one more question before I get responses. Just briefly, vote chori failed, right? It was at the bottom of the issues. You want to just talk about that for a moment?
Vote chori failed, not just failed, I think it was not even in the syllabus.
I mean, look at the numbers. About 3% men thought it was significant, 4% women.
So you can fail an exam when it is something is in the syllabus and you appeared for that exam and that you failed. It was not even the syllabus of the Bihari voters. So I think something spectacularly failed because people found their names in the voter list. People came out, they voted, they came up with the biggest possible turnout in the history of Bihar election. Women kind of, trashed all kind of record books to the dustbin when the turnout mattered the most. And it's the bottom of the pyramid which came out. I mean, and I can see the irony of it because I remember, the election where way back in 1995 when under Session, big number of the bottom of the pyramid actually came out. Dilip, you remember that first Lalu Yadav kind of went after TN Session, but later on end up thanking TN Session. That bottom of the pyramid actually came out to vote. So I think it's ironical, but I cannot help but compare this election with 1995 election, where the bottom of the pyramid, where the women, they came out in record numbers. The mandate, maybe some people like it, some people may not like it, but one cannot one cannot deny the fact that people came out in record numbers. Nobody complained that their name was striked off, they could not vote. Not a single repoll ordered not a single act of violence happened. So, I mean, all those checklists, they do matter as far as the operation or the conduct of the election is concerned.
Okay, so let's just hold that. I know there's more data, but let's bring in Tavleen and Dilip because there is a lesson for larger politics, for national politics, right? When we look at the fact that vote chori is an issue polls so low, 3 to 4% actually saying that it was a significant issue that defined their decision. What does that tell us? Because I don't think the Congress party is looking at Bihar and saying, oh my God, we got this terribly wrong. We need to shift our strategy. There are those who spent a lifetime studying the Congress, like Rashid Kidwai, who say the biggest conversation in the Congress right now is not the Bihar defeat, Tavleen, but who's going to get a Rajya Sabha seat. He says there's a Jai Jagat gang, a new sort of, he called it Ekta Parishad politics-driven gang that is all about who's going to make it to the Rajya Sabha. So, what does this defeat tell us about the state of the Congress and the recovery of Modi and BJP from the knocks they took in Lok Sabha of 2024? Tavleen, to you first.
Okay, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Modi's greatest asset is Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi has tried and tried to paint him as a corrupt prime minister, to paint him as responsible for crony capitalism, as a man who doesn't care for the people. And none of those ideas has caught the imagination of the voter. Now, in another political party that wasn't the private company of a family, he would have been thrown out because he's lost more than, I think, 50 elections, right? The BJP loves him, Barkha, as you probably know, because against a proper political leader, Modi can be defeated. Do you know, I mean, Nitish can be defeated. Do you know that the state of Bihar, unfortunately for us, our reporters who go out there, they don't describe to you how awful conditions are. I didn't go this time, but I have somebody, a Bihari, working for me. His wife lives 40 kilometers from Darbhanga and is nearly dying of typhoid because there's nothing. And, I can't say to him, ganda pani peene se hota hai. There is only ganda pani. They have no way to boil it. This is a man who works for me, who is not a Dalit or anything, and he's an upper caste man and didn't have a roof over his head. I mean, it was a kacha roof that got blown over the whole time. So this is the reality. Bihar is so awful. And into that, you bring in vote chori as the main thing. I mean, it really is shocking. And then not only do you get the wrong issue to take to the people, you then vanish in the middle of the campaign. You're nowhere to be seen. It's really Rahul Gandhi is Narendra Modi's best asset.
Dilip, do you agree? Do you agree that this is essentially a leadership problem, not just in personality, but also in the issues? Rahul Gandhi spent a lot of press time, media time, his own energy, his party's energy, his allies' energy on the issue of vote chori and the concerns around the revision of roles. And I accept that every issue that is important to the public is not an electoral issue. There are issues that are important in of themselves. But you do not choose campaign time and energy to raise those issues. Dilip, I'm just going to wait for you to fix your shot, and there you are. Do respond.
I tend to believe that the ability of the Congress party to be nimble on its foot and to appropriate the right electoral strategy is unfortunately dictated too much by the personal whim or the belief of Rahul Gandhi and the coterie around him. A simple survey would have shown how much impact a vote chori kind of thing has had in the first 2 weeks of campaigning. It's time to have switched. The second thing, while Yashwant has indicated that the distribution of vast quantities of money to large numbers of women isn't the most important thing, there is no doubt, even from his data, that moved the needle substantially. The third thing is clearly this kind of money ensured that within families, women voted differently from the men, which is not the normal practice in the past, as far as surveys have shown in Bihar at least, and in many other states. So for the first time, you had women breaking away and creating a bloc, and they were rewarded for it historically by Nitish for a long period of time. And then they got this lump sum, which made the real huge difference. Number 4, the big problem with the Congress party is the kind of troops they put on the ground. They had to, para-drop Gehlot at the last minute because it was insulting to Tejashwi, the kind of flow management, the kind of ground management that the Congress's brass in Bihar was trying to do. They were spending their whole time trying to figure out how to upstage Tejashwi within the Mahagathbandhan instead of trying to get the seats that they would get allotted. They got allotted far too many seats, which was treated by the AICC and the satraps as an indication of power. And that was a clear reason why they lost. They didn't have the ground troops to actually get even part of these seats. They should have been satisfied with less and allowed Tejashwi to try and lead the campaign after having declared him far too late, which was another huge electoral debacle. And it really meant that the satraps who were in charge were to blame and less Rahul Gandhi. He should have actually taken the call and said, hey, this is Tejashwi's election. Let's make him the boss from the beginning.
But if I can ask both of you to respond, Mr. Gandhi also vanished First, as Tavleen pointed out, Dilip, in the middle of the campaign, he was said to be upset with how things were being managed with his ally RJD. Do you believe there will be any repercussions in the Congress? Will anything change? I hear, whispers about, oh, we wish, and I think you pointed it out, everybody wants KC Venugopal, Rahul Gandhi's key man, to go to Kerala to somehow break the stranglehold he seems to have over Rahul Gandhi. Priyanka Gandhi, it's been pointed out, hasn't been given any key task for months now.
I think at the sort of, I'll hazard a guess. I think that Rahul Gandhi's physical presence may help the troops, but he really is at least attempting to prove that he is not the crucial factor in every state election. And that is wrong. He is the crucial factor, and he should be front and center right through the campaign. And look, I think Tejashwi is a whole lot younger. Maybe he has years to go, but he's proven himself to be a very mature politician in getting the kind of votes that Yashwant has pointed out. That kind of vote share is not to be scoffed at. So I think that it's a mistake to not, I don't think it's as big a mistake to vanish for a while, but it's a mistake to allow half-witted satraps to be in your place when you're not there.
Tavleen, before I go back to Yashwant for more data, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, I wanted to just also point out, because I was listening to Dilip, do you know that the Congress party has spent the past few years building up Rahul Gandhi, not the party? That's a big mistake. Because you have to have, whatever your issues are, you need people to take that to on the ground to be, campaigning. They don't have a party structure left in the Congress party. They've got the little darbar in Delhi, and people wondering about, as you said, Rashid Kidwai is saying that, they're worried about Raja. This is, they're just little leeches sitting in Delhi. They don't go out anywhere to do any work. So, it isn't just Rahul Gandhi. It is also the fact that the party feels that that the charisma of the Gandhis is still there. And it is not. It is no longer that, it's not Indira Gandhi we're talking about, or even actually Sonia Gandhi. It's these two between them, don't have the ability to actually appeal in the way politically that they need to. So they need a party structure as well to help them, carry their message.
I think that's an excellent point, but let me come back to Yashwant and, what wading through more of the post-poll analysis has taught you. Some interesting things happen here, like Nitish Kumar, who is being sort of written off by the media, by pollsters, by his own ally, perhaps in the beginning, who did not want to commit to making him chief minister. He bounces back. And Prashant Kishore, who had outperformed him, plummets. I think you say he goes from a 22% approval rating to a 9% approval rating, right? How do you make sense of this, one? And two, if you zoom out and look at the points that both Dilip and Tavleen have made about the Congress, the lack of party structure, the coterie, the half-witted satraps, the little leeches, I'm quoting them verbatim, and yet actually a complete denialism. And I remember you had said to me on the day of counting, something can change in the Congress if they first accept defeat, but they may not actually accept defeat. So over to you, Yashwant.
Double down. They actually, and I said that day that my fear is that they are going to double down on the vote Chori campaign, and that's what exactly they are doing right now. But I will answer your first question, about Prashant's number plummeting, and that was a direct impact of bipolarization of the contest at the end of the day. And as we in the tracker, we always maintain that almost 7 out of 10 supporters of Prashant Kishore were coming from NDA. So basically, the moment we ask the question in the tracker that, okay, forget about everybody else, if you are only going to choose between Tejashwi Yadav and Nitish Kumar, then all of a sudden Nitish Kumar number became 45-47% range, and then Tejashwi was around 40-41, 5-6% gap was evident. So that was very clear that if Prashant Kishore or Prashant Kishore's candidate would not be seen as in a winning position, then in order to make sure that RJD doesn't come into play, those voters will go back to the NDA and Nitish Kumar fold, and that is precisely what has happened. So Prashant Kishore actually raised the issues, the right noise and everything. But when voter in the last found that he is actually not in a race, then on that particular issue, they had the two options, and they decided Nitish is a better option even to deliver on the issues created by Prashant Kishore, but Tejashwi might not be the best option.
But why did the voter feel that Prashant Kishore was not in the race? Do you think that Prashant Kishore's decision to not contest himself was perhaps the fatal error of his campaign?
Not just that. I mean, that was obviously he himself admitted that it was an error that he should have contested. But I think somehow last few weeks he kind of, gave away. I mean, there are two distinct things that he said that struck me, and we discussed it, by the way, in one of those tracker programs, when he first of all said that between Tejashwi and Nitish, he will always choose no without any doubt. That was a kind of subtle messaging to his own supporters that, okay, if suppose I am not there, then go where I am asking you to go. And second thing was then he kind of ridiculed his own people that, so no, ye bhag jayenge. Ye jeet gaye to bhag jayenge. You know, if I do not get 150, my people will be sold off. And that was kind of, I stuck with that. You know, he is now kind of, I won't say running away, but he is kind of giving some kind of messaging, something where he is not entirely in the game anymore. So he kind of pulled out. I mean, that's what my feeling is. And not contesting the election is where I think it went wrong. He should have contested, even if it meant that contesting from his home seat, wherever his village is, you know, his stronghold, not necessarily directly against Nitish Kumar or Tejashwi Yadav, like Arvind Kejriwal did against Pradhan Mantri Modi and against Mukhyamantri Sheila Dikshit ji. So I think these three things kind of did. But make no mistake, just the way I am not writing of Tejashwi Yadav, Barkha, I am not writing of Prashant Kishore either. Because even on the polling day, there were about 9-10% people out there who said that they wanted him to be seen as the chief minister even after polling was done. In the post-poll, and hardly 3.5-4% polled for them. So that means almost about 6.5% of his supporters, even after the polling was done, they kind of switched over and they're still taking his name. So he has a traction, provided he continues. That's his game to play. But as far as Congress is concerned, you remember the day when I said that once the election results are out, we are going to ask ourselves if Katihar Yatra was more important than the Columbia Yatra. You know, I totally agree with Tavlin as well and Dilip's assertion as well that the people around RG, I don't know if somebody has the guts to stand up to him and tell him that, boss, what are you doing? I mean, this doesn't make any sense. Colombia at this point of time doesn't make. You tell me anybody if it makes, any sense to anybody for that matter, you know. And it doesn't make. And I feel sorry. Because of one thing, Barkha, that in our Mood of the Nation polls in the last 10 years particularly, not a single point of time I found public at large in India to be dismissive of opposition. Overwhelming majority of Indians always said in that tracking question, India needs better opposition. India needs a stronger opposition. They see Congress as the pinpoint of the opposition, momentum and everything. And yet, when they look at this kind of situation, I feel sorry. Because India needs better Congress. India needs better opposition. And that's what the public of India is requesting them to be.
So let's open this up again, Tavleen. I know that you are somebody who likes or appreciates Prashant Kishore, and you've said that before on my program. But it's unclear. A lot of people say, was he media manufactured? Why did the media give him so much time? It turned out to be a bubble that burst. Yashwant isn't saying that. He's saying we have to wait and see what he does over the next few years. He has said that he will not go back to consultancy. He will continue at least for the next few years to try and be a politician. How did you look at that brand of Prashant Kishore particularly?
I agree with Yashwant, by the way, don't write Prashant Kishore off. You see, it's not easy to build a political party. It takes time. even with the Aam Aadmi Party, even with the fact that they had the corruption, both the anti-corruption movement as their, fuel rocket, etc., as their rocket fuel, even they took a while before they began to be seen as credible, and that also only in a city. It took them a while to then get out of Delhi. In the case of Prashant Kishore, for a start, I was in one of those Aapki Adalats for Prashant Kishore as the judge, and he talked about not contesting. And I said, if you do that, you're sending the wrong message. You're actually saying, I'm not a serious contender for CM. I'm a social worker who's going to wander around. That's a big mistake. Because when you want to be a politician, you've got to wear your political badge out there saying, I want to become a politician to change Bihar, not social working and just wandering about the villages. But I believe that by the next election, he will have built up enough strength. And, that the Yadav vote or whatever, the Gathbandhan vote is all Tejashwi's vote. So, they can't be written off. But I also think that, from my conversation, I couldn't travel this time. My conversations with Biharis, that Jungle Raj thing worried them because there were many people who remembered that time. And they said, Nitish is a good man. Okay, in the past few years, he hasn't delivered. He hasn't taken his story forward enough. But he's at least a decent man. You're not going to have private armies killing each other off for caste and all that, which is what it was like before. So I think that was a factor as well. But I wouldn't write Prashant off at all. Yashwant is right.
Dilip, how do you see it?
I want to go back for a minute to the way the Congress campaign focused on vote chori. The problem is that they, for some reason, these brilliant analysts and advisors of Rahul Gandhi insisted that he should not play any caste card, and that cost them a lot. They needed to consolidate because the most efficient game that the BJP played yet again, as they always do, is the ability to garner the right leaders under a massive caste banner, which will make sure that their combination works and wins. So I think that against the idea of vote chori was that the Congress ceded the space to also play with its candidates and its rhetoric a little bit more of the caste card. That was the biggest failure of the strategists who were running the Congress campaign, besides their arrogance and their inability to deal with the local Bihar leadership of other parties. As far as Prashant Kishore is concerned, I think disaster struck when he, for whatever reason, again, brilliant strategizing, perhaps, which went wrong, was not to fight the election himself. Remember, like the Congress, which chose not to play its caste card, Prashant Kishore has no real caste basis for his movement, and he will have to work to make sure that by dint of allotting seats to the right people, he can make a bigger dent next time. Just as vote chori did not matter, and just as the massive or semi-illegal dole mattered, I think caste mattered a whole lot more, and we are all underplaying its importance in the way BJP was able to craft its victory, including the Paswan factor. So you need to understand that Bihar voted very much on caste lines plus women. So that was the unbeatable combination.
So let me take that to Yashwant before, as we take final comments. Yashwant, you have actually argued that when it came to the female vote, it transcended caste. But you have also argued, to Dilip's point, that the Mahagathbandhan basically could not expand its base, right? So if you saw Akhilesh Yadav in the last Uttar Pradesh election, he made a very concerted effort to say, I don't want to be defined by Muslims and Yadav voters alone. The Mahagathbandhan could not go beyond that base. And if you look at how Muslims voted, it's actually quite interesting. Because if you just go to how Muslims voted, it will show you that 18% of Muslim women voted for the NDA, and 70% of Muslim women voted for the Mahagathbandhan. But that means 30% of Muslim women still voted either for the NDA or for others, right? So if you look at that, that's very interesting. So even the Muslim vote was not a monolith. It got fragmented. So the Muslim Yadav, not just did the Mahagathbandhan not go beyond Muslim Yadavs, there was a competitive fight even for the OBC vote, and even the Muslim vote got somewhat splintered.
And that's
Yes,
a
sir.
significant number. That's a significant number because that is almost like 1 in 5 Muslim women voting for Nitish Kumar, and that's a very significant number, I would say, because of a simple reason that issues which matter, they work, and if people start voting on the issues, forgetting the caste and religion lines, that is what the good democracy would be like eventually. I would love to see upper caste voting for Tejashwi and Muslim vote for the BJP at some point of time, if it was a good democratic India, in that way. But having said that, there were two things which were working. First of all, the vote chori obviously was not working. So we are not even discussing that anymore. All right. Two things which were working for each of the campaign and which they kind of understood very well. One was the joblessness, the unemployment among the male youth particularly. It was working. So majority of the people who were going on the field report, and they were talking only to the males, and particularly between the 18 to 35 category, by the way, not just 25. Because between 25 to 35, the contact was close. If you club the two groups together, actually MGB has an edge between 18 to 35 block together. All right. So they were talking to the males. People go and they talk to the males. It's very difficult. I don't know why, but talking to females on the ground, it's difficult. And only the female reporters who go on the ground, they can manage that. So they forgot that female are 50% even of the youth. They just forgot that, and that is where it made all the difference. Now, if the unemployment and the male youth was working for Tejashwi, the female card was working for Nitish Kumar. The two things which I just want to say is, everybody knew that female card was working for Nitish Kumar. To which extent people were making a guesstimate and not looking the empirical evidence of the survey data and everything. But where was the female campaign from the Mahagathbandhan? Where was Priyanka Gandhi? Where was Misa Bharti? Rohini Acharya? I mean, Rabani Devi? It wasn't like they did not have the female campaigners in their camp, but were they used? No. So they just thought in a very, very patriarchal mindset that okay, औरतें तो वही वोट देंगी जहां मर्द जाएंगे, and that did not happen. I'm sorry, it was not going to happen. And by the way, Barkha, if that ceiling has been shattered in Bihar, take it in writing. Every other state, females are going to shatter that ceiling of that constraint that they will have to vote as per their family's wishes or the male counterpart's wishes. It's not going to happen. So that is where I think they went wrong. They did not counter on this Nitish Kumar's card properly. Second thing, which I believe that the NDA people are, because of the social media, whatever the kind I'm looking at it, whenever I say that youth voted for Tejashwi Yadav, there is an attack on me on social media thing. Did not happen. Unemployment was not the issue. Come on, please. You won a historic mandate. But if at all you feel because of this historic sweeping mandate, you can just turn a blind eye to the issue of unemployment, you are totally wrong. Then you are not looking at the 400-pound gorilla sitting in your room, standing in your room. If it is not going to attack you right now, 5 years down the lane, it will attack you. So for the NDA to learn the lesson that, okay, this was an important issue, they just got lucky that female of Bihar saved them. But this is an issue they need to work, not just in Bihar, pan-India, they need to work in every possible way. Otherwise, it will be too troublesome for them in the coming years, So these are the two which they have to work on. Both the
I think that's very eloquently said, and the numbers are on your screen. See voter post poll analysis finds that 68% of men and 65% of women said unemployment was the biggest issue. And so Yashwant warning there that the NDA can hardly afford to be in denial about that. Final comments from Tavleen and Dilip. Tavleen, on a slightly different note, when we look at, what's happening in the world stage, a fascinating meeting between Zohran Mamdani and Donald Trump, right? I mean, hilarious, but also so important that actually Trump is looking almost avuncular with this man whom he has abused, called names and all of that. It tells you how politics can and should be, said Shashi Tharoor today. When you look at that tweet by Shashi Tharoor, you have to wonder, can it ever be like that? Or is Tharoor playing at something? I mean, what did you think when you saw both Mamdani and Trump?
It used to be like that in India. Until now, it used to be that after the election was over, that you could, be friends in parliament and have tea together. You've been to those parties where everyone's, cozy with each other and at least polite enough to listen to each other's views. Now it is, there's a really immature quality about the Congress party's constant attack on the Prime Minister, on him personally, not the BJP. They're not opposing the BJP so much. They are personally constant, and they think that is working for them. It isn't, because the average Indian, I mean, I'm no longer a Modi bhakt, and nor do I think that he shouldn't be criticized. But don't insult him. Vote chor, gaddi chor. I mean, come on. Is this a school thing? And then wearing all those, labels and going into parliament with T-shirts. And, I mean, this is not serious politics. This is just a tamasha. And we need the Congress party to please wake up, and smell the coffee and, recover whatever little it has and try to rebuild itself. We really need the Congress party because, Tejashwi is not going to be a candidate for Prime Minister. Only the Congress party exists in the national opposition.
Yeah. Dilip, I'll give you the closing word. You said, rather caustically that Shashi Tharoor is like the AQI of Delhi. It's in the headlines ever so often and then nothing changes, nothing happens, nothing moves. But on our screen is what Shashi Tharoor said about this Mamdani Trump meeting, and he said this is how he thinks India should be, but he also said this is how he has tried to be. He was addressing detractors in his own party who have questioned his praise for Modi at the Ramnath Goenka lecture, who have questioned his advocacy of Operation Sindoor, and so on. What did you make of this comment just before we go?
Just like Yashwant said that the most beloved aspect of politics for the BJP is Rahul Gandhi, I think keep in mind that Shashi Tharoor is actually best for the BJP where he is, tearing the Congress down every now and then, knocking their teeth out in public with elegance and constantly railing and ranting about the global order where he feels he has a role to play, which is wonderful. But the fact is that Modi finds him extraordinarily useful as long as he's in the Congress. He will find no use for him once he's in the BJP, which is why he's not going to be there.
All right, that's, I think, very incisively said. We leave it there. Yashwant's post-poll analysis is extremely compelling. The graphics are in full detail on this program for anyone who should like to study them. We'll also provide a link to where Yashwant has many more granular details. I know a lot of people are very geeky about political data and would like to go through this. Thank you so much in the meantime to Tavleen, Dilip and Yashwant, and have a great weekend, everybody. See you soon. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.